trees. Over portion of every one of world's trees evergreen and deciduous substitute these extraordinary gatherings. For a significant number of us they are spot of secret and obscurity. They are critical to our atmosphere and home to innumerable remarkable species. Before we have wrecked them decisively. However, trees do have an astounding capacity to recoup. Today, we will talk about trees, their importance, and other related information, facts and their implication to mankind and the planet. According to Wikipedia, a tree is a perennial plant with an elongated stem, or trunk, supporting branches and leaves in most species. In certain utilizations, the meaning of a tree might be smaller, incorporating just woody plants with auxiliary development, plants that are usable as timber or plants over a predefined tallness. In more extensive definitions, the taller palms, tree greeneries, bananas, and bamboos are additionally trees. Trees are not a scientific classification but rather incorporate an assortment of plant-animal groups that have autonomously advanced a trunk and branches as an approach to overshadow different plants to vie for daylight. Trees will in general be enduring, some arriving at a few thousand years of age. Trees have been in presence for 370 million years. It is assessed that there are around 3 trillion developed trees on the planet. A tree commonly has numerous optional branches upheld away from the beginning by the trunk. This trunk regularly contains woody tissue for quality, and vascular tissue to convey materials starting with one piece of the tree then onto the next. For most trees it is encircled by a layer of bark which fills in as a defensive hindrance. Beneath the ground, the roots branch and spread out generally, they serve to secure the tree and concentrate dampness and supplements from the dirt. Over the ground, the branches partition into more modest branches and shoots. The shoots commonly bear leaves, which catch light energy and convert it into sugars by photosynthesis, giving the food to the tree's development and advancement. Trees as a rule replicate utilizing seeds. Blossoms and natural product might be available, however a few trees, for example, conifers, rather have dust cones and seed cones. Palms, bananas, and bamboos likewise produce seeds, however tree greeneries produce spores, all things being equal. Trees assume a critical function in diminishing disintegration and directing the atmosphere. They eliminate carbon dioxide from the climate and store huge amounts of carbon in their tissues. Trees and woodlands give a territory to numerous types of creatures and plants. Tropical rainforests are among the most biodiverse territories on the planet. Trees give shade and sanctuary, lumber for development, fuel for cooking and warming, and organic product for food, just as having numerous different employments. In parts of the world, woodlands are contracting as trees are cleared to build the measure of land accessible for horticulture. Due to their lifespan and value, trees have consistently been venerated, with hallowed forests in different societies, and they assume a function in huge numbers of the world's legends. Most of tree species are angiosperms. There are around 1,000 types of gymnosperm trees, including conifers, cycads, ginkgophytes, and natal. They produce seeds which are not encased in organic products, yet in open structures, for example, pine cones, and many have intense waxy leaves, for example, pine needles. Most angiosperm trees are eudicots, the genuine dicotyledons, so named on the grounds that the seeds contain 2 cotyledons or seed leaves. There are likewise a few trees among the old heredities of blooming plants called basal angiosperms or paleodicots. These incorporate omborella, magnolia, nutmeg, and avocado, while trees, for example, bamboo, palms and bananas, are monocots. Wood invigorates auxiliary to the trunk of most sorts of tree. This backings the plant as it becomes bigger. The vascular arrangement of trees permits water, supplements, and different synthetic substances to be appropriated around the plant, and without it trees would not have the option to develop as extensive as they do. Trees, as generally tall plants, need to draw water up the stem through the xylem from the roots by the pull delivered as water vanishes from the leaves. In the event that inadequate water is accessible, the leaves will pass on. The three fundamental pieces of trees incorporate the root, stem, and leaves. They are basic pieces of the vascular framework which interconnects all the living cells. In trees and different plants that create wood, the vascular cambium permits the development of vascular tissue that produces woody development. Since this development cracks the epidermis of the stem, woody plants additionally have a stopper cambium that creates among the phloem. The stopper cambium offers a scent to thicken plug cells to ensure the outside of the plant and lessen water misfortune. Both the creation of wood and the creation of stopper are types of optional development. Trees are either evergreen, having foliage that continues and stays green consistently, or deciduous, shedding their leaves toward the finish of the developing season and afterward having a lethargic period without foliage. Most conifers are evergreens, however larches, larix and pseudolarix, are deciduous, dropping their needles every pre-winter, and a few types of cypress, Glyptostrobus, metasequoia, and taxodium, shed little verdant shoots yearly in a cycle known as cladoptosis. The crown is the spreading top of a tree including the branches and leaves, while the highest layer in a woods, framed by the crowns of the trees, is known as the canopy. A sapling is a youthful tree. Numerous tall palms are herbaceous monocots. These don't go through auxiliary development and never produce wood. In numerous tall palms, the terminal bud on the principal stem is the simply one to grow, so they have unbranched trunks with enormous spirally organized leaves. A portion of the tree plants, request cyathials, have tall straight trunks, growing up to 20 meters, 66 feet. However, these are made not out of wood yet of rhizomes which develop vertically and are covered by various unusual roots. The quantity of trees on the planet, as per 2015 estimate, is 3.04 trillion, of which 1.39 trillion, 46%, are in the tropics or subtropics, 0.61 trillion, 20%, in the temperate zones, and 0.74 trillion, 24%, in the coniferous boreal timberlands. The gauge is around multiple times higher than past appraisals, and depends on tree densities estimated on more than 400,000 plots. It stays subject to a wide safety buffer, not least in light of the fact that the examples are principally from Europe and North America. The gauge proposes that around 15 billion trees are chopped down yearly and around 5 billion are planted. In the long time since the beginning of human farming, the quantity of trees worldwide has diminished by 46%. In reasonable conditions, for example, the Daintree rainforest in Queensland, or the blended podocarp and broadleaf woodland of Ulva Island, New Zealand, backwoods is the pretty much stable climatic peak network toward the finish of a plant progression, where open zones, for example, prairie are colonized by taller plants, which thusly offer approach to trees that in the long run structure a timberland shade. In cool calm locales, conifers regularly prevail. A broadly circulated peak network in the furthest north of the northern half of the globe is clammy taiga or northern coniferous woods, likewise called boreal backwoods. Taiga is the world's biggest land biome, shaping 29% of the world's timberland cover. The long virus winter of the far north is unacceptable for plant development, and trees must fill quickly in the short summer season when the temperature rises and the days are long. Light is restricted under their thick cover and there might be little vegetation on the wood's floor, despite the fact that parasites may proliferate. Comparable forest is found on mountains where the height makes the normal temperature be lower, in this way lessening the length of the developing season. Where precipitation is generally uniformly spread over the seasons in calm areas, mild broadleaf and blended woods epitomized by species like oak, beech, birch, and maple is found. Mild backwoods is likewise found in the southern side of the equator, as in the eastern Australia calm timberland, portrayed by eucalyptus backwoods and open acacia forest. In tropical locales with a storm or rainstorm-like atmosphere, where a drier piece of the year substitutes with a wet period, as in the Amazon rainforest, various types of expansive-leaved trees rule the timberland, some of them being deciduous. In tropical locales with a drier savanna atmosphere and deficient precipitation to help thick woods, the overhang isn't shut, and a lot of daylight arrives at the ground, which is covered with grass and scour. Acacia and baobab are very much adjusted to living in such zones. The roots of a tree serve to secure it to the ground and accumulate water and supplements to move to all pieces of the tree. They are additionally utilized for propagation, guard, endurance, energy stockpiling, and numerous different purposes. The radical or undeveloped root is the initial segment of a seedling to rise up out of the seed during the cycle of germination. This forms into a taproot which goes straight downwards. Inside half a month side-long roots branch out of the side of this and become evenly through the upper layers of the dirt. In many trees, the taproot in the long run shrivels away and the wide-spreading laterals remain. Close to the tip of the better roots are single-cell root hairs. These are in quick contact with the dirt particles and can retain water and supplements, for example, potassium in arrangement. The roots expect oxygen to breathe, and a couple of animal varieties, for example, mangroves and the lake cypress, Taxidium ascendens, can live in forever waterlogged soil. In the dirt, the roots experience the hyphae of parasites. Huge numbers of these are known as mycorrhiza and structure a mutualistic relationship with the tree roots. Some are explicit to a solitary tree animal categories, which won't thrive without its mycorrhizal partner. Others are generalists and partner with numerous species. The tree gains minerals, for example, phosphorus from the growth, while the parasite acquires the sugar results of photosynthesis from the tree. The hyphae of the parasite can connect various trees and an organization is framed, moving supplements and signals starting with one spot then on to the next. The parasite advances development of the roots and secures the trees against hunters and microorganisms. It can likewise restrict harm never really tree by contamination as the parasite aggregates substantial metals inside its tissues. Fossil proof shows that roots have been related with mycorrhizal organisms since the early Paleozoic, 400 million years prior, when the principal vascular plants colonized dry land. A few trees, for example, alder, Alnus species, have a harmonious relationship with Frankia species, a filamentous bacterium that can fix nitrogen from the air, changing over it into smelling salts. They have actinorrhizal root knobs on their underlying foundations in which the microorganisms live. This cycle empowers the tree to live in low nitrogen living spaces where they would somehow or another be not able to thrive. The plant hormones called cytokinins start root knob arrangement, in a cycle firmly identified with mycorrhizal affiliation. It has been exhibited that a few trees are interconnected through their root framework, shaping a province. The interconnections are made by the inosculation cycle, a sort of common joining or welding of vegetal tissues. The tests to show this system's administration are performed by infusing synthetic compounds, here and there radioactive, into a tree, and afterward checking for its essence in neighboring trees. The roots are, by and large, an underground piece of the tree, yet some tree species have developed roots that are elevated. The normal purposes for elevated roots might be of two sorts: to add to the mechanical steadiness of the tree, and to get oxygen from air. An occurrence of mechanical dependability upgrade is the red mangrove that creates prop uncovers that circle of the trunk and branches and plunge vertically into the mud. A comparative structure is created by the Indian banyan. Numerous enormous trees have support uncovers which flare from the lower part of the trunk. These support the tree rather like point sections and give steadiness, diminishing influence in high breezes. They are especially common in tropical rainforests where the dirt is poor and the roots are near the surface. Some tree species have created root augmentations that jump out of soil, to get oxygen, when it isn't accessible in the dirt in view of overabundance water. These root expansions are called pneumatophories, and are available, among others, in dark mangrove and lake cypress. What is the tallest tree in the world? California redwoods are the world's tallest trees. The tallest trees in the world are redwoods, Sequoia sempervirens, which tower above the ground in California. These trees can easily reach heights of 300 feet, 91 meters. Among the redwoods, a tree named Hyperion dwarfs them all.